right, everyone. Since it's only a 30-minute webinar, I'm going to go ahead and get going. So my name is Addie Van Salisbury. I am an implementation specialist for Aspen Discovery at ByWater Solutions. I have a couple members of my team here with me today. I have Jesse, who is on our sales team, along with Bill, who is also on our sales team for Aspen. And then we have Cal, who is our partner engagement specialist. So we are all here today to answer any questions you have. Feel free to ask questions throughout, and we will try and leave a couple minutes at the end for questions as well. All right, here we go. All right, my friends. So, like I said, I am an implementation specialist for Aspen Discovery. I have been with ByWater for coming up on 3 years now, and I've been working with Aspen for a little over a year, which has been a really lovely experience because I get to work with so many great libraries and I get to bring this awesome product to your patrons. And that's the whole, thing behind Aspen, is having a really nice experience for your patrons. And we'll get more into that as we go. I just want to mention that Aspen Discovery is an open source product. Like everything that ByWater Solutions supports, Aspen is open source. So what this means for you is that we don't own the code. It's all driven by the community and it's all driven by our partners. So we call the libraries that we work with our partners because that's really what it is. We're in a community together and y'all get to dictate what we do at the end of the day with our code and what this product gets to be for your patrons. Before we get going too much into the process behind our implementations, I like to speak to the Aspen Discovery goals. And if you start working with us, you will hear us talk about these goals throughout our time together. So we talk about this on the very first call that we have together and also on our last training for your entire staff. The reason being is because this really drives us. Our goals we talk about regularly, even as a team internally, because it dictates what we do in our, in the implementation, in the product itself. Those goals you can see here. The first goal of ours is that we want to maximize patron usage of all library materials. This is my absolute favorite goal of Aspen Discovery because it's the most exciting goal in my opinion, because this is what we get to really work on in the implementation itself. We want to make sure that your patrons are aware of resources they have access to, of interesting collections they might not even realize that you'll have, of databases, events, just all of the great things that y'all have for your patrons that they might not even know they have access to. We want to make sure those are the things they can easily discover within Aspen. Our second goal is that we want to complete integration with as many different ILSs and as many different e-content providers as we can. We have several different ILSs that we work with. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but that is our intention. We want to make sure that we're offering Aspen Discovery to as many patrons as we can. So we're always working to integrate with different ILSs and other providers. We also want to make it as easy as possible for your patrons to use. And this is a goal that I also love because we are really good at this. So we at Aspen, or on the Aspen Discovery team, try and make this your interface as intuitive as possible for your patrons. And I think that as soon as you get into an Aspen site, you will see that that's the case. It's easy to use. We want to make sure patrons are never getting frustrated or finding exactly what they're looking for, and that's really important to us. The last thing is that we want to make it as easy as possible for y'all to customize and maintain. So we know you have so much going on. We want it to be really simple for you to be able to utilize all of the tools that Aspen has, and for you to be able to use them really easily. And so one of the really big things we focus on in training is empowering you all to know what tools you have and how to use them. So, talking a little bit about the process itself, how do we actually get you live on our great product? So, the first thing I want to mention is that you always have a dedicated implementation specialist. The Aspen team is the best, and our implementation specialists we are always very involved. We are invested in you and your library and making sure that the site is exactly what you need it to be for your patrons. So we do have you know, a personal relationship with you throughout the process itself. The process has always evolved and it is always changing, and that's on purpose. So we are always working to improve our implementation processes. We're doing that through partner feedback. So we're constantly growing and changing these processes to meet y'all's needs. So what you're seeing today, by the time you go live, might be a little tweaked. It might be a little better. Our newest iteration of our implementation is this really cool site that we just started to utilize. So we have an implementation plan with you, and I'll give y'all a sneak peek at this brand new site in just a second. But before we do, I want to talk about what the implementation plan, we even use it for. So we always are working with y'all to have a customized timeline, customized trainings, and to make sure that we know exactly where we are in the process. You can see on this slide kind of a general timeline that we are typically seeing with our partners. So we have something called a kickoff call. As soon as you sign, or not long after you've signed your contract, we get together, we get some answers. You know, what e-content are you using? What are your expectations for Aspen? Do you have any concerns? We go through that conversation together, and then we kick off the implementation itself. So during the implementation, there are several steps, but we're always making sure that those steps are super duper clear. Now we have this one-stop shop that I am so excited about. So when you start to implement with us, you are going to receive your customized implementation plan. It's a site that you can access anywhere. So you don't have to like print it out. It's not a PDF. You will have your testing URL. You'll have all of the information you need right here on this site. You'll have your timeline, so you can easily see, okay, we're having our training on, you know, August 25th. And you can really easily just determine where we are in the process itself. If you keep going down on this page, you'll have your action items, your very first action items of your implementation. You'll find right on this page. So the way that we get your implementation going is by first having you fill out a site setup questionnaire and a data questionnaire. So that way we can get a sense of how you're expecting to use Aspen and where we can find important information like audience. As we go on, you will always be able to access the different trainings that you have done in this site. So we have 4 trainings for admin. These trainings are, I say admin, but really it's anyone on staff that are going to be responsible for these particular parts of your project. So the first training that we do together, so kickoff call is done, you filled out your site setup questionnaire, we will have a configuration training. This is the high level training. It's less of a training and more of a setup together. This is where we're going to answer questions, and this is where we set up like the backbone of your system. So that call is typically, you know, good decision makers, potentially admin, people that understand your processes internally. Those are great people to have on that first call. Our goal on this first call, like I said, is set up high level configuration. Some of the topics you can expect to see on this are going to be configuring format display, setting up self-registration, determining what patrons can edit on their account, scoping your catalogs. What do we want to see in each catalog? Do we want more than one catalog? So again, it's really just kind of, we're making a game plan and we're starting that setup right away. The next thing we have is our customization and getting to know the catalog training. So these are really about making your site look great for your patrons and having you exposed to all the tools that we have for you in Aspen to help your patrons within Aspen. So our goal here is going to be to give you the tools to customize your catalog, the look of the catalog, the facets that we're displaying in the catalog, because y'all can pick and choose from a list of like 40. So you get to decide what filters patrons are going to have access to when they're doing searches. We get to decide in these getting to know the catalog trainings, what MARC information do you want to include in the searches? How do I utilize particular features? If you've seen an Aspen demo or if you've poked around on an Aspen site, some of the features that we focus on in these customization trainings are things like placards, how to create patron lists, so like read-alike list, how to create browse categories, which are those really awesome cover flows on the home page. So you get lots of exposure to all the things that you can customize uniquely to your library and your situation. On the Discover More training, so this is actually an optional training, whether you want to have it before or after go live. So this Discover More training is going to be things like our web builder module. So in Aspen, we have a module called Web Builder where you can create web pages within Aspen, and it's super easy to do. But we understand, because we've listened to past partners, that you've got a lot of boxes to check before you go live. And sometimes this really great feature like the web builder, it's not necessary for go live. So if you want to wait to train on this after you go live, when you're more comfortable and you're ready to potentially tackle that aspect of Aspen, then we're more than happy to wait to train you on those things after go live. If you want to train before go live, that's absolutely fine too. We love that. The point is that we want to make sure that this training process is as straightforward as possible for y'all. And we don't want you to ever feel overwhelmed or, concerned about having too many things to do. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible as we can for y'all. The last training, I'm just going to keep on scrolling, is our patron experience training. So this is after we've gone through all of those previous, back-end trainings. You've made your site look really nice. We're showing, your formats properly, and you've got all of your customization pretty much ready to go. There could be some tweaks still coming. We do a patron experience training. This training is meant for all staff. So on this call, we get to show off all that hard work that you've put into your system, but we also get to demonstrate the patron experience in the catalog. We get to show off searches, all of those features that I mentioned, like placards, explore more. We get to show off all those features, and we get to talk about the patron account. So really at the end of the day, we want your staff to understand how your patrons will be utilizing the site and to get a feel of what their experience is going to be in Aspen. We also offer Q&A sessions. So we know, you might learn something with us on the customization training and you've got it, and you go back to do it, and maybe you get stuck or you have questions, or you just want to touch base with us because you want to make sure you're on the right path towards go live. So we offer Q&A sessions whenever you want. You can schedule them with us whenever you need them. And, we'll meet and go through those questions. We can retrain. They're really whatever you want. They're kind of like office hours. Once we are getting ready to go live, so like the week before, we will do a pre-go live call. So we'll just check in. Do you have everything you need? Is there anything that you are concerned about? That's where we're going to go over those questions before the go live. And then after go live, we'll have a similar call. Just check in. Are your patrons enjoying the experience? Do we need to change any settings? Is there anything else we need to circle back to? Just to make sure that the go live process was exactly what you needed it to be. After you go live and the post go live is over, you're not done with us. We still are always here for y'all for support. So, you're always welcome to meet with us if you prefer one-on-ones. If you prefer working through our ticketing system, we can do that. And I can talk a little bit more about that as we go. So we've talked about the process. You always can track your process or your progress on that implementation plan. That implementation plan is where we will track. If you have a customized timeline, you'll see those particular dates. If you have customized trainings, that'll all be reflected in your unique implementation plan. And we always, I like to mention this, that every step of our process is very goal oriented and there's an intention. And that's something that I think the whole Aspen team is really passionate about. We never want to put you through a step or a hoop just because to check off a box. We want each step to have a real goal. We're trying to make, you know, your catalog better for your patrons on this call, or we're trying to make sure that you have access to all of your resources on this call. So each step really has an intention. And we always share those goals with you on that implementation plan. So on each section, if you were to click into that specific training tab, you'll see the goal behind that training. And once the training is complete, you'll also see a recording of the training. So you always have access to those resources. In addition to the trainings themselves and the recordings of the trainings, we have lots and lots of resources, and that resource list is just growing. We've got tutorials, we have blog posts that have lots of great information, and we also have a great Aspen manual that's actually about to get even better. So, you know, we've always got lots of great resources for y'all. See that I've got a question in the chat. Okay.
I'll read it for you.
Thanks.
So this is more like a post-implementation question, but what would the process be for modifying Aspen B post-implementation?
Yeah, so you're welcome to make changes to your customization at any point post go live. So you will have access to all of those tools, all of the things that we're setting up together forever. So if you have the proper permissions, you can definitely make changes whenever you are ready to make those changes. That being said, if you're like, oh, I know I want to make this change, but I can't remember how to, or I don't even know where to get started, that's why you have us. So we are your support team, and you can always reach out to us through the various channels of communication we have, primarily probably through our ticketing system though. So we do have a ticketing system, which is where we track you know, any issues you have or any questions you have, and we'd help you through that process. Yep. Thanks. Thank you, Cal. Okay. One last thing I want to mention about the process before I keep on, I get really excited about the implementation process is that we always are super clear with y'all about your action items. So you'll never leave a meeting and be like, I don't even know what I was supposed to do. We're going to tell you at the end of the call, all right, so these are the things that you need to accomplish you know, in the next couple of weeks. So we're very, very clear about action items. As far as getting prepared for the implementation itself, people often ask, you know, like, how can I get ready? Are there steps I need to take? It's more of a reflection. So I would think about these questions, but I wouldn't get overwhelmed with any questions or with the need to really prep yourself for the implementation, because I promise you, we are going to walk you through all of these considerations. And, you know, we've got lots of other examples to show off to you if you ever get stuck. But I would say if you do want to go ahead and start getting prepared, you can ask yourself, what are your goals with Aspen Discovery? Are there particular things that you want to absolutely make sure your patrons have access to in Aspen? Definitely think about that. I would also say, think about your data. Do you know where you store audience information? Do you know where you store format information? If you definitely know where that lives, if you can talk to your catalogers about that, then that definitely makes, you know, that first, we have a data questionnaire that you'll fill out. That'll make that questionnaire a lot easier. And again, if you can't figure it out, if you don't know, it's all good. We love looking at data. We'll figure it out with you. Are there special collections you want to highlight? Are there archives or resources that you want to ensure patrons have access to? And really, if you really want to do some prep work, I would just say create a list of vendors and or resources that your patrons have access to, like all of them. And let's consider a way to make sure that all of them are discoverable in Aspen. I just want to quickly talk about some of the capabilities that Aspen has. If you're here, you might already know about a lot of these capabilities, but I just like to mention it. There's so much more to Aspen than just a catalog, right? It's a discovery layer, and it really is. So we have full e-content integration. That means that if e-content vendors have APIs, we can show that data or show those titles up to date in Aspen with real-time availability. Those are vendors like Overdrive, Access 360, Cloud Library, and Hoopla. We have e-content integration even if they don't have APIs. So we have a workaround to get any type of e-content records into Aspen. We also can index digital archives, your external library website. So both of those resources can be discoverable to your patrons in Aspen, as well as a built-in genealogy functionality that Aspen has. So if you want to utilize any of these resources, you can. Again, not something you have to use, but something that you can get excited about. And I just want to mention that if any of these things are like, oh, I love this, but I don't have time to get to this before go live. We have tons of partners that go live with what they need out of Aspen. And then as they progress, they add to it. So they might say, well, next year we're going to do the genealogy. We're going to add that in. So you can always improve your Aspen Discovery layer as time goes on. This doesn't have to all get done before go live. I always like to mention that we do it for the patrons. That really is what Aspen Discovery is about. We want to make sure that, Aspen, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, is very intuitive to your patrons, but also that it's a really nice experience for them, that they get to see all of the great things that you offer. And I just love this quote that a partner of ours sent to us recently. They said, Aspen is powerful, easily customizable, and intuitive. We've had very few questions from our patrons about how to navigate Aspen since we went live. So that's exactly our goal. And I think we're good at meeting that goal. Okay. Again, love partner quotes. We really do listen to our feedback from our partners. We make changes to our process. We make changes to the product itself when we need to. So we're always considering what you'll have to say. And these are some of my favorite feedback about implementation in particular. We know this one quote, implementing new library technology can be overwhelming, but ByWater Solutions staff organized the Aspen setup and customization process into manageable sessions, and we're available every step of the way to ensure a smooth release. And that just brings so much happiness to my heart, because that's really the goal. I never want, and none of us on the Aspen team ever want y'all to be overwhelmed or stressed out. We're always here to make that process as simple as we can. And I'm not going to read the rest of them because I talk too much about the process. But before we end, what questions do y'all have? I'll just put this forward to show off some of our upcoming webinars. So if you can go ahead and sign up for those. Are there any questions that y'all have about the process or Aspen in general? I'd love to hear them.
Addie, there was one more about, can you talk a little bit more about the relationship outside of implementation?
Yes. So I'm assuming we're talking about the relationship between our partners and us on the Aspen team. So after you go live and even during, you always have access to the full Aspen team. So even though you have gone live, implementation's over, that doesn't mean that we are no longer supporting you. If anything, it means you have access to an even wider variety of people to help you. So we always have our ticketing system. That's our go-to method of tracking issues or questions. We have a Slack workspace, and that's a really vibrant space for our community because people get to ask questions from one another in the community, and they can also ask questions directly to us on the ByWater staff, so we can answer any questions you have there. We also have several community events. So I keep talking about this community aspect of Aspen. because Aspen is open source, we genuinely do have a community, and that's very integral to the success of Aspen. Because of that, we have a monthly gathering of anyone that uses Aspen. All of our partners, anyone that utilizes it, comes together and has a conversation. I say conversation because it depends on the month what we're talking about. The past couple of months, we have addressed the upcoming app because everyone's so excited about the app that's coming. We get to share with one another what everyone's doing. So a couple of months ago, one of our partners talked about how they were utilizing Aspen for their summer reading program. So we get to share what's working, what's not working, what their patrons love. In addition to the community gatherings, we do lots of resources like something called Aspen Weekly. This is a resource that we send out once a week. It's a deep dive into an Aspen topic. And we also are always keeping you all up to date on our releases. So that means as we develop, we are going to make sure that you have access to our lead developer to ask questions, and so he can share what's coming. There is another question. Will there be a charge for the app? I'm going to let Bill or Jesse talk about that because I'm not sure.
We're working individually with each of the libraries as far as the charge for the app. Many that we are including with the initial purchase. But right now we are including it with the initial purchase with the intent down the road to possibly charge for it. But right now it's included.
Yeah, and if you have questions about, the Aspen sales process or maybe about any contract information, you can reach out to Bill. He's bill@bywatersolutions.com. We keep it simple. If you have questions about the process or anything that I've talked about today, or just, what's going on with Aspen, you can shoot me an email, Addie@bywatersolutions.com. So we'd love to hear from y'all. Are there any other questions today? We've got like 30 seconds. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to work with y'all in the future when we get to implement Aspen Discovery for you and your patrons. Is there anything else that we need to speak to, Cal, before we end out? Okay.
And we're just holding these monthly Discover webinars, like Addie showed on the previous slide. So we'll have these at least through the end of the year. So please feel free to join us for any of our other sessions that we have.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.